HVAC 360, episode number 45, OPR and CFR. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of HVAC 360. I'm your host, Matt Nelson. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about the OPR and a CFR and what exactly those are. They are documents. I've recently given a little talk about commissioning and the different aspects of commissioning. And it wasn't for specifically for other commissioning agents or for owners or anything like that. It was more geared towards architects and engineers. And it's really important. A lot of times the commissioning agents really are carrying the ball for the OPR and the CFR as far as getting them documented, getting them done. So I just wanted to have a kind of a short podcast here to kind of explain a little bit about what they are and some important features of them, give you a little bit of cliff notes and some good information. Hopefully you'll get something out of this podcast, and let me know if I missed anything. I can always put it in the show notes for you later. So generally speaking, or not generally speaking, specifically, the OPR stands for the Owner's Project Requirements. That is applied typically to new buildings. When you talk about existing facilities, you're going to talk about a CFR, which is just slightly different than the OPR, but the CFR stands for the Current Facility Requirements. So again, all of those they really link to what the owner expects the building to do, really what the building needs to do. When you talk about the OPR specifically, I guess it gives you a great metric to be able to determine how to measure the success of a project. You know, I guess really when you talk about new construction and the OPRs, you really can think about a couple of different things. Sometimes, you know, and again, I'll take a step back a little bit. Before I go into what you can expect, realize that the OPR is really kind of hidden in the lead specifications for the requirements for the credits. They're really not found anywhere else. They're not used in common everyday non-lead projects, but they are found in the lead credits for commissioning. And it confuses a lot of people exactly, what they are, who's responsible for them. I mean, to commissioning agents, we completely understand. As the owner's project requirements state, they're to be developed by the owner, or in conjunction with the architect and engineer. But it's not something that we necessarily create. I personally, and this is my personal opinion, not any, the official line is that, commissioning agents do not develop OPRs. I, however, on the other hand, I do. I mean, you got to realize, depending on the level of sophistication of your owner, you're going to have a lot of different experience in dealing with construction. So a lot of them, this is going to be their one and only project that they ever do for their facility. Others, if you're dealing with larger campuses, medical campuses, higher ed campuses, they're going to be doing this stuff all the time. So it really depends on the sophistication of your owner to kind of establish whether or not they're going to have some sort of OPR to begin with. So that's why I like to be able to, take the owner through the development process of the OPR, get that established, and, frankly, once you've kind of bitten the bullet and done it once or twice, it really is something that is fairly easy to do. So it's just getting that learning curve of exactly what goes in the OPR and how to get it in there. So when you talk about more sophisticated owners, whether it be the government or whether it be, larger institutions, you might have some sort of space planning already done for a project. And that's a great component to put in an OPR. I mean, that's really one of the key pieces, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But another thing that could be a mix of the or mixed into the OPR is the design standards or the design requirements of a facility. Sometimes facilities, when they're a little bit more sophisticated, they have multiple buildings, they like to start standardizing on certain things. So they'll have some sort of design standards already developed. That, too, is a great component to what an OPR, what should go into an OPR. Of course, I would say, even if you have the space, programming requirements and the design standards, that's still probably not enough. There's probably leaving a few things out. So, as an owner, as a engineer, as an architect, as a commissioning agent, use your specialized knowledge with the building industry to be able to try to, coax the questions out of them, to be able to get that information down on paper. And ultimately, really that's what it is all about. I mean, you think about an architect talking to an owner saying, what do you expect? What do you envision this project to be? The OPR really isn't anything technical. It's written from the owner's standpoint. I mean, it's written in their own words. So when the architect sits down and has that conversation with what they expect to use it for, what kind of spaces do they really need, this is just merely a documentation of those conversations. And it's really critical to know exactly what the owner wanted in the beginning to make sure that you can give it to them. There's nothing worse than not meeting expectations. I have this story developed of, if you can really just put yourself into the owner's shoes for a second, and I'll use this analogy. Say, you're taking your significant other out for a nice dinner. You just got your check on Friday and you have some money to spend, and you really haven't done this in a while, and you want to take them out to a nice restaurant. So you take them out to a nice restaurant and you sit down and you look and you can. It's nice, it's quiet, the ambiance is just right. You're ordering your favorite dishes, whether it be maybe like a steak or a salmon, and you're thinking, maybe I should get a bottle of wine, to go along with this meal. And you're like, well, I'll get this reasonable priced bottle of wine, this Riesling, and it's only going to be about $30 or whatever it is. And you do that, and the sommelier comes over and takes your order and says, "Oh, of course." And he looks at what you've ordered, goes back to the wine selection, comes back with a $500 bottle of wine, saying, "You know what? This is a great vintage. I know it's a special occasion for you." He pops the cork, he gives it to you. You kind of look at it. Okay, what am I supposed to do with this? And he pours, a glass for yourself and your spouse, and he goes away, and you're like, "What just happened?" I came here with some money, and I wanted to have a good experience here at this restaurant, and all of a sudden my expectations were not met. Somebody just blew this out of the water. I have a bottle of wine that's way too expensive. You take a taste of it, it tastes like a dirty shoe, and it's this flood of emotion just comes into you. It's you're sad, you're angry, you're mad, you're embarrassed. Do you send it back? Do you look like a fool, or you just go with it? What do you do? And really, that's the owner for you. I mean, he is there, and he has a specific purpose, and he has specific funds, and he trusts this money to experts who he hopes will interpret what he's saying correctly and act on it accordingly. So that's really kind of my envisionment. I mean, you really feel for the owner and really put yourself in his shoes to be able to give him what he wants. So I think a couple of important things to remember when you're developing an OPR is not set in stone. and when I mean OPR, CFR, they're not set in stone. It's something that can be changed periodically throughout, and frankly should be, if different decisions arise. If something changes in the design, make sure you update that so when you get to the end, okay, you know what? I wanted, 4 sets of bathrooms, but when I took a look at it, it was really expensive, so 3 sets will do. Okay, well, that, you better change that in the OPR, so when you get to the end and you say, well, there's 3, not 4, you don't get confused. And it still met the requirements. But just make sure that, you have the owner's buy-in, it's written in their words, and it really documents what they intended to be, to have done. One thing you can do with a stakeholder, I say, develop it with the owners. Who are the owners? Sometimes you get into a situation where you can actually develop an OPR in a meeting type format. Develop it like that, and you invite the architects, engineers, other stakeholders, including like maybe maintenance people. You could even do the fire department, police department, some of the community. I mean, realistically, there's a lot of good ideas that can come out of there because again, you're thinking in a silo most of the time when you're designing a building. You're not thinking of the peripheral things. For instance, if you invited the fire department, they say, well, you know what, we really, when we fight a fire and we're going to come from Main Street here and we're going to turn onto 4th, we're going to park our fire truck right here and we want to be connected on this side of the building. Okay, perfect. These are some of the things that you can work out ahead of time that really start to get everybody's buy-in. You talk to the police, the police. Well, we want to be able to, react to certain situations. It introduces them to the building too, to kind of know what to expect. Okay, where's the front entrance going to be, or where's the main office going to be, or whatever information they need to know. And if there's something that they need to know, you can add that. You can make a note of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to vet everybody's concerns, but at least you give somebody a chance to kind of vet those. So it doesn't happen on every job, no, but certainly it is an option. And I just want to make sure that you're aware that things like this have been done in the past. And will be done in the future. So the question stands, of course, people say, you know what, this OPR, it comes from LEED. Do we really need it? And I would say yes. Yes, we need it. We talk about the expectations, and it's so critical to be able to get that right, to get that down in writing. Because, a lot of times you might have an owner say one thing and they mean another thing, and you need to clarify. You need to ask a few more questions. Or, it's even good when you're thinking about having, an owner says, you know what, I really do need that 4th bathroom. And, instead of just kind of talking off, out the side of his mouth, you can really nail him down and say, Mr. Owner, I heard you want a 4th bathroom. Do you want us to put that in the OPR? Now they can't say, well, that maybe, okay, no, not really. I was just thinking there. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of check them from growing their scope when they don't really mean to, or when they mean to and they shouldn't really. So let's talk a little bit about what goes into a OPR to begin with. What does the document look like? Now, if you go on Google, do a search, I'm sure you're going to find a number of examples of OPRs. Some of them are short, some of them are rather lengthy. It really depends. But the point of developing it and having those conversations and documenting that is going to be immensely valuable when it comes further down. Not only is it going to be something that's useful to you, but it's really going to be of value to the owner. it's something that, okay, you were really listening to me. It's this added value that they may not have expected in the design process, but that you provided. So when you look at the format of it, typically some of the things that you're going to find on the OPR, you're going to have a description of the project, a description of the building. You might even have some history behind the building. If it's an addition or something like that, you might have a reason for building the building. So there might be some sort of reason, some sort of use of the project. What are your plans on using this building for? What are some of the things that you want to do as far as future expansion? I mean, that's critical when you talk to HVAC and the electrical. If you're going to plan on adding a future wing, well, you know what? That's really good to know, because I'd increase the size of my mechanical room so I can add additional equipment if I wanted to. Things that trigger other questions are really good to get out on the table, and really important to understand. You can have schedule, when the owner expects to have the building built by, so everybody's on the same page. You can have the project cost in the OPR. You could also have some of the, obviously you talk about the systems that are involved, and typically, again, keep it in the owner's words. If they want, heating and cooling, or they want to use, if they want to achieve a LEED Gold or a LEED Silver, use that sort of language. Don't be too technical when you're writing the OPR. But some of the things that you could do, if you have the maintenance involved, you could say, you know what, I really like brand X, Y, and Z, but don't you dare try to pass A, B, and C off. They are straight off the list. So it's it kind of gives you an idea of what the owner likes, what he dislikes. Of various different systems, whether you're talking mechanical, whether you're talking plumbing, electrical. You could even do, various things like elevator, security, telephone, all these sorts of different building systems, building envelope, site plans, if you deal with, the vegetation and things like that. It can all get incorporated into that OPR. So, you can see from just that, you can see how, enormous it could possibly get. But, go through it, say, generally speaking, you're going to have a template loosely filled out, get their information, and being able to massage that to exactly what they want. Give them a copy, let them review it, because again, they're owners, they have busy schedules, and, frankly, if it was up to them to typing, you might not get it till the end of the construction, if at all. So that's why, take it away from the owner's hands and, use the design team, use the commissioning agent, whoever it is, to develop the OPR. Also, of course, like I said in the beginning, space requirements. If you have that, throw that in there. Space requirements, design standards. Those are good addenda for the OPR. Now, I guess if you take a look at some of the benefits of developing an OPR, I cannot tell you the number of projects that I've dealt with that things just didn't get communicated properly, especially with larger clients. If you're dealing with one person developing a building and they know exactly everything that's going on, that's great. You may not have a lot of changes. But when you're dealing with, say, a healthcare organization where you have multiple departments and multiple people and everybody wants a little bit different thing, you can really get pushed around by the type of equipment that they want in their areas. Especially when you're dealing with IT. IT is the information technology. How many servers, how many UPS, how many rooms, how do you want it supplied? Is it going 24/7? Is it ever going to shut down? All these different things. Typically they're not going to know until the last day, and it's like, what do you do for the load? but be able to document that. And for the engineers and the designers out there, get out, go out of your comfort zone. Keep asking questions. Always be asking questions, because if they say one thing, they might mean another. If they say, okay, I need this much equipment, it may have been, well, you know what, in the future, this is as much equipment as I'll ever need. But for today, I only have, one server instead of the 20 that we'll need in the future, which drastically changes the way you approach sizing equipment, supplying equipment. Same thing with the emergency generator. What are you going to have on it today? If you're going to have an expansion, what are you going to put on it tomorrow? Do you really need to kind of massage that? And as far as the different loads that are going to go on there, can you shed some off? Are some things really critical? You need to be able to ask those questions of those people to make sure that you get your design right. And when you ask them those questions, you can get that information integrated to the OPR. So when they come back at the end of the project and they say, you know what, here's how much, equipment we have, we go, well, you know what, we've sized it per your, the information that we have in the OPR, and that was only half of what you gave us today. So you can hold their feet to the fire a little bit more and just, back yourself up. Give yourself some sort of defensible position by documenting that. Now, contractors, is not a bad thing to take a look at the OPR to begin with. Know what the owner really wanted. You might see some things that the engineer or the design team may not have caught on. You may know something, well, you probably do know a lot of things that they don't know. And when you read something in an owner's words, you may go, oh yeah, I have this particular owner that when he said this, he meant this, and this is what we did. Is that what you'd like? And you can change, even as a contractor, you can change it. A even a tab company can go in there and say, you know what, in this hospital organization, I understand that you have the basic, testing and balancing to do, but realistically, if you're thinking and you're really concerned about infection control, you may look at doing some sort of, cascade mapping. So, that could be a convenient upsell for you, or just get it integrated into the design. I mean, if you think about it, if you read it and you think about it and you get it in early, there could still be contingency money. It's more likely that it's going to be there at the beginning of a project than at the end. So you may be able to grab additional funds just by reading the OPR and interpreting what the owner really wanted. So don't discount, just because you're a contractor, the OPR is something the design team needs to worry about, because ultimately you're going to be held responsible to those same outcomes. All right, so I've talked quite a bit about the OPR. The CFR, on the other hand, really it's once the project is done, the OPR in a way sort of turns into the CFR. The current facility requirements, and this is going to have hours of operation. It's gonna know exactly what equipment got replaced, or what different space planning is going in there. It's with hospitals, they're notorious for doing renovations, and you may lose some of that information. But if you keep it detailed in a CFR, again, it's a living document. So as changes are made, you make changes to the CFR. That could be something that you could keep updated. Or even if you are doing a new project or a new renovation, this is a great tool for the owner to be able to give to the design team to be able to use in their redesign of your project. Also, it could be an opportunity for you to upsell the client, saying, hey, you know what, you don't have anything developed, but I would really like to develop for you a current facilities requirement, and it'll give you a great baseline for the future. So, consider that. All right. So I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to, go over a little bit about what OPRs and what my feelings are on them. I hope you agree with them. If you don't, let me know. If you think I missed something, and I probably did, give me a shout. You can contact me at matt@buildingx.co. You can follow me on Twitter @buildingx, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening. You guys are great. Again, you are the top 3% of your profession. Just know that. I appreciate you wanting to learn just as much as I love buildings and learning how buildings work. I want to be able to share that with you. So with that, I say thank you. And remember, know what you build and share what you know.